And welcome back. Let us go now to line number 4 and speak to, Jim Learning's back. How you doing, Jim?
How you doing, Pete?
I thought I might hear from you again.
Good to talk with you again.
Good to have you.
I need to another pushback against Gilbert Bennett.
Okay.
The PR man. And if I could just say that the carry-on he gets on with, and trust me, I'm God. I mean, I just don't get that attitude. Because, remember, 83% of our people said, Labrador people said they didn't want that project. Okay, for whatever reason, we had the 12 reasons, or they had about 12 reasons outlined, and certainly one of them, I don't remember or even think one of them was safety, but the point is that is a factor. And because Gilbert Bennett says so, and because they have those expert engineers on site, that doesn't make it any different at the bottom where there is no bottom. So you keep piling, and I don't care, even with Dr. Bernander, I would question, you're throwing tons and tons of whatever on top of what is a bottomless pit. And that, can go down to, well, I think they say about 1,000 feet before bedrock. So how in the world do you make that safe? Just by simply thinking you're compressing it in. And we know, too, from what we can see, now they've skinned off all the vegetation. We can see clay almost clear to the top, and it goes right down to the shoreline. And, of course, you want to dig in. It goes on beyond that. So
now, he says they're changing the slope, and all the things they're doing are making it safer rather than the alternative. Now, I don't mind if he seems to be so confident that this is a very safe situation and they've got good scientific evidence from people with the expertise to determine that. If that's the case, fine, but why do they know that and the rest of us don't? It seems to me if they have real solid reason to have that kind of faith and understanding, then perhaps they could share it with us.
And they're not sharing anything, not from the price of that project to any of the science of the groundwork. They're sharing nothing, which tells me that what we know about that stands side by side with what they say they know. And as for those engineers that sign off on it, give me a break. They're paid and told to do what they have to do. And I'm sure they can make any signature disappear into the works with the way that the Newfoundland government does legislation. They can make anything disappear under 29. They can make your name disappear under 29 if they want. You can't push back.
But who in the right mind as an engineer would jeopardize their professional expertise or their credibility by assuming that can and will happen? I mean, isn't the province just as likely to throw you under the bus if they need to?
No, what's going to happen is the government is going to take full responsibility for it and go ahead and try suing the government. That never works for us. So ultimately the government is saying, you sign off on that, I'll take full responsibility, and that is the end of it. Mud Lake goes. And the risk factor is not zero. If the risk factor is zero, why would we be concerned? Like we'd only then be concerned that we don't like the environmental rip-up that's going on, which we don't. But that doesn't call the day. And like you say, I can picture what that's going to look like. It's going to look like a beautifully sloped, it's going to look like a nice dome on either side, sloped right down to the water. I get that. And it'll look really good. But the fact remains that tonnage is still on top. The water still flows underneath. There is no bottom in it. That is the bottom line. There's no bottom.
Right. And I've got lots of information here sent to me by people saying that it's not just right on the river that you have to worry about this quick clay. It's far inland along the road, etc., where there's also apparently some weakness and some instability that could lead to lots of slides, and they've happened in the past. Yeah,
well, we've looked at that right up to where the road goes by. That brook feeds back into Lower Brook, up towards Lower Brook, and the slope of that hill there last year, when we looked at it, we took all our measurements of the crack in the pavement, and it actually stretched about 1 3/4 inches wide now. That's how that's slipping. And the guardrails, which were vertical, are now sloped over about 5 degrees. So that whole thing is gradually moving downhill, as Dr. Bernander pointed out, and we verified by our measurements. We've been taking continuous measurements of it, and further up where they put the towers, about another half a kilometer, that whole bank is coming down to where they have to keep scooping out the quick clay so they can maintain a ditch there so it doesn't push the road. So all of that is motion, right clear up to almost, I'd say, Sand Lakes. And according to Gilbert Bennett, what's going on anywhere else has no bearing on what's happening on the North Spur. That's BS. It's all connected. And the big slides that happen up above is all a part of that. So for the millennia, like you say, thousands of years, like it's just been going on, and it's still going on. And it's really poignant down by, like you just said, but that's like a big horseshoe where the road goes around, because they built the road on the quick clay itself. They didn't go into the granite or into the rock face. They just built the road right on the mud. And they're paying, like I say, that we can see that actually slipping away. So yes, there's, and as for believing what Gilbert Bennett is saying about this, what does the prudence report from Liberty say? That's rather disturbing. He's flying in the face of, they've been proven wrong so many times, and no point in going back to what a fiasco this is. We've said that enough times, but just dwelling on this, the risk factor is not zero. Nobody's speaking up for Mud Lake. They don't have a mayor. They're depending on the government. Heaven's sake. The government is saying, go ahead and do this, Nalcor. And, of course, Nalcor is telling is the dog wagging the, tail wagging the dog here, because the government tells, Nalcor tells the government what to do in this. We didn't elect any, no premier were elected. Ed Martin is the one that's elected to look after us, and his interest is in finishing this thing, spending the money, going up to $12 billion if they have to. It makes no difference. So excuse me for ranting on
I don't know if there's gain in it spending more than necessary, but clearly his job is to get the project done, to see it through, and that's his prime directive, yeah.
That's right.
All right, sir. Well, listen, there's lots of controversy here and lots of difference of opinion in terms of the communication, as we heard from the mayor of Happy Valley Goose Bay and Mr. Bennett yesterday. He said that they're in regular communication, and then he proceeded to say that they were they had met with them earlier this year, which doesn't sound necessarily that regular. I would think regular communication might mean at least quarterly, if not even more often. But anyway.
Yeah, I think he's trying to mitigate that, because there's a bit of frustration going on there that maybe he doesn't want to voice out like that, and I understand that, because it's best to try to keep the peace in a small circle if you can, and let them...
Well, everybody wants to have a healthy working relationship and get to solutions and resolutions the easiest way possible, and it's too easy, I suppose, to get personality and emotion involved.
Yes, and if you start doing that at say, the mayor's level, and even at Gilbert Bennett's level, but that man has come on so many times, said so many things that are so contradictory and then so self-serving. I mean, come on, I'd like to sit across the table from him and go through these things point by point, and I have an IQ of highway speed, for heaven's sake.
I would watch that program. I thank you for your time today, Jim. Got to run to the next break, but let's keep in touch.
Thanks for the opportunity.
All the best. Bye-bye.